Hey, yo, YouTube. What's up? What is up, everybody? So we're 2 days, depending on how you count, after the SHSAT results. Yeah. What a long journey for you guys. So I'm doing this as kind of a part 2. We did a part 1 for this 2 nights ago. You guys are sending me lots of emails and questions and stuff, so I figured it was more simple to do this. I'm actually totally exhausted right now, so let's just see how this goes. Get some people in here, including trolls. Let's see how that works out. And let's just have some chatting going on. What's up? We have 1 like already. All right. Yeah, there we go. Subscribe. Click those likes. Share. Tell the world. Even add your dog's account. All right. Rat Pouch. What a great name. You guys have lots of good names here. I think somebody had something called Rotten Fishes or something or whatever. 585 is a great score no matter what school you got into. Touching on those 600s, right? You guys are probably relieved at this point. So I'm exhausted just from everything, including maintaining all those SAT things as well. Yeah, please subscribe. 371. Still tried. It's still something you do. All the students should be legends. To actually go up to bat for the task is an amazing feat for students this age. So we can only celebrate no matter what. Oh, poached trout. I said pouched, right? That's what you eat? All right, so what else is going on, guys? The rest of you guys are probably exhausted too from being up the other night, trying to wait for your scores, doing homework, all these kind of great things. So this is just going to be a slow stream. Just like I said, a lot of you guys emailed me and stuff, so I just want to see if we can get any kind of convo going with that, so I don't have to keep repeating stuff in email. Let's see. A few you were asking me if you can change your school. Nope. Once your offer's in, you can't change your school. I studied for 2 weeks and got a 542. Luckily, yeah, everybody's different, and some students study for years, and some literally roll out of bed and get the most top score of anybody. So we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different family situations. We all go to different middle schools. So it's a plethora of just a whole bunch of different people altogether. 653, oh, that's excellent. That's really a great score. That's one of the top scores you can get. You're in the 99th percentile. I got a few 99th percentile students as well. So I'm pretty ecstatic. I'm ecstatic for all the students. Again, anybody even attempting this is really a great feat for kids, students your age. Aviation, 785. So as I was saying, a bunch of you were asking me if you can switch schools. No, once your offer's in, that's it. The position the DOE takes, and it's valid, is that you had enough time to rank your schools, and that's the order you put them in, and you can't change it now from some other situation. On the same note, kind of piggybacking off of that, I'm getting a whole bunch of questions asking. Some of you, in past years, you didn't get discovery offers with your SHSAT offer. It came later on, and normally through your guidance counselor. There's actually a couple steps to the discovery process, and that's still going to happen. Those of you who got a statement on your offer saying you're an invite, there's actually multiple steps that are still going to happen, where you actually have to accept the invitation, and then you get. There's still a couple of levels where you finally eventually end up the Discover class itself. Okay? But in any event, some of you are asking me, can you change the school that you're doing the Discovery at? No, you can't. The Discovery ranges for each school are different. Okay? And also, they're trying to do, crowd control and stuff. Plus, again, the Discovery is not arbitrary. It's based on the schools that you ranked. So that's where that's coming from. All right. Yeah, you're a legend. You're a legend. Also, you guys, if you didn't post your results yet, give me 1 second, and I actually post that into the chat so that you guys can have a link to click on. Give me 1 second here. Where did I put that? Where did I put that? Let me try to find that while I'm trying to talk. You guys can talk amongst yourselves as well. Here we go. If you go to the schoolboards.com, you can post your thing there. That way we can crowdsource the scores and get it more accurate. The DOE does not release scores. All they release is the lowest score, which was 497. Okay? And by the way, the discovery scores are based off of that partially. So the lowest cutoff score for any school turned out to be 497. So please post your thing here because that's the only way to get these details. At this point, the numbers are fairly accurate, but they're not there yet. I think more people still need to post so the numbers can be a little more accurate. I've analyzed those numbers also using other sources. I have like 11 or 12 years worth of data, and I believe it's 99.9% correct. So at some point, the school board's info will also be 99.99% correct. That said, I've even seen information from the DOE that conflicts itself. So I think it depends on exactly when you look at these numbers, plus the things that are being fixed. Okay? Right. Let's see. So what do we have here? I got a 602 Stuyvesant. Yeah. I will probably go. Yeah. Isn't that the beauty of it? You can now choose to go or not go. 563 for the Siths. Yeah. All right, dude. That's the way to go. These are all great scores too. Congrats to everybody. I think everybody's zombied out. I was hoping to answer questions that you guys keep asking me. Let me see if I can backtrack through some of my email here. Some students are asking about retaking the SAT for SHSAT 9. So there's that, and they're starting to think about working out plans to start setting themselves up to do that. 591 Style also does. Anyone know orientation dates or audition times for orchestra and stuff like that? Nah, it's probably too early for that, although I believe Sty already sent out a packet, or was it Brog Science, to fill out. Remember, the full high school application offers are not going to come back to into June, so you have 2 months still to just hang out and wait for those offers. So I think this is going to be a long time coming. So I doubt any schools are going to be allowed to announce the orientations yet. And the orientation might still be online since they were doing that. We have to still remember that the pandemic is still occurring, even though it diminished slightly. New York is back on the rise, etc., etc. What you may be able to do, though, is go to the STI site and see if there's still information about what they did last year. And that might give you a heads up about it. Okay? All the schools have that. Sometimes it's buried somewhere, and you have to basically go into the deep dark web to find it, because they don't really keep those links active and so on. So you may have to do that. So what I was saying was, students are asking about SHSAT 9. I have a lot of posts about that, past Q&A sessions we've done about that. And it's a superset of SHSAT 8. It's harder. It's not twice as hard, but it has additional topics because you learned extra stuff. Make sure that you spend the year reading anything and thinking critically about it. Make sure you're eating properly, sleeping properly. Make sure you're not binge studying where you are now setting plans to study for SHSAT 9, but you don't do it until next October, right? Because then you're just fooling yourself. Anyway, what you want to do is make sure that you're doing well in all your classes because it's based on grade level stuff. You might argue it goes past that. Well, if it goes past it, it still means you need to be grade level proficient. What else can we talk about? Find out the topics. If you go to, I'm going to put another thing in here. If you go to my site, to GregsTutoringNYC.com/SHSAT-FAQs, I have links to topics and a whole bunch of other links, but there's, if you guys want the math and ELA topics links, to kind of check and see what extra stuff you need to know, because there's all this controversy that starts happening. Students start studying for the SAT and all this other stuff. The SAT is not the SAT. Students start getting into, oh, I need to know all of Algebra 1 and all of Algebra 2 and all geometry. You don't. You don't. You need to know some of it. So check out those lists, and you can see the parts that you really are supposed to know about it. What else can we say about SHSAT 9? It also means, since SHSAT 9 is a superset of SHSAT 8, it means knowing everything about SHSAT 9. I mean SHSAT 8. Right? You have to be totally proficient in SHSAT 8 because that's a subset of SHSAT 9. So the way to think about 9 is it's all of 8 plus some additions. Right? Mainly in the math. There's controversy about whether the ELA is exactly the same or not. Some feedback I give it is that it's not the same, and some feedback that it is the same. The DOE will never say, so we're kind of stuck in that loop. That said, many of you can still bump up your ELA games, and many of you find the ELA challenging. So that's always an area to work on, especially now that you have a lot of time to do it. I spent too much time on math and barely any time on the reading part. You have to balance it out. You have to balance it out until the very end. Not until the very end should you make a decision where you should put your effort into. There's this mentality that if you do well in one of the subjects, that your score is going to increase. That is true, but only if you're only past like 45 questions or whatever. So it's not true like if you have 33 questions. So what you want to do is balance the both of them out, get the best you can in both subjects until the very end, and then try to decide, can I actually try to shoot for a perfect score on one side or the other? And remember, that's a unicorn, but it's still an important unicorn to try to shoot for. And the logic is that the more questions you answer correctly in a section, the more points they become worth. But that's not true at question number 10, question number 11, right? You have to be getting to the last dozen questions or whatever, right? So if you got 25 right in the math, it doesn't really help you grandiosely to get 30 right in the math. We're talking about when you're at the very end of it and you get that many correct. Okay, we're not talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is within the 57 questions, can you get 47 or more right? That kind of a thing. I finished 20 minutes early, but I kept reviewing my math because I thought I did something wrong. Right, you want to be able to do your double checking, but not so much that you're undermining your progress. And what happens to a lot of students is they get so bogged down / kind of obsessed about this double check aspect that they triple check it, waste time, and even if they don't triple check it, they're so jumping at shadows that they start changing correct answers to wrong answers. So it's a delicate process. When I work with my students, I don't really have them finish the test and go back. They should only go back to questions that they know are wrong and that they couldn't answer. We explore, when we're at a problem, we explore multiple solutions. So when they're at the problem itself, they can double check it by doing it a completely different way. And that also shakes out if they read the question wrong sometimes. So most of the problems have at least 2 ways to do it. There's some problems that have 5 ways to do it. Okay? What we also want to do is optimize some of the questions and bump up your numeracy and proficiency and no hesitation math skills so that you're not spending so much time on one question. There's a lot of questions that can be answered in 5, 10, 15 seconds. Just that simple. Using many different techniques. And this is about mastery of the subject. It could be math. This is also true on the ELA side. There's different ways to approach the questions where you can balance that out so that you do have the extra time. Most of the problem with most students is they never finish the test. So you're lucky you had 20 minutes left. But most SHSAT students actually never finish the SHSAT. They just run out of time, and the last 10 to 15 minutes they just circle anything, or they're guessing in fast mode, which is not an optimal way to do it. So, and that's part of what your practice is about. So it's a delicate balance. Please like and subscribe, people. Thank you. That's the way it goes. Let me give myself something to drink. My throat is dying. So I'm exhausted, guys, for multiple reasons. But and if you guys want to email me stuff privately, you're not don't want to post it publicly, or it contains personal information, feel free to email me at the bottom, GregsTutoringNYC@gmail.com, and I can certainly help you out. Or if you need tutoring, obviously I'm a tutor. Is it worth it to check ELA? Because I don't really know how I would check it. There's ways to do it. This is the dilemma of a test like this, that the ELA in your classroom doesn't match the ELA that you're being asked to do on the SHSAT number 1. In your classroom, you're allowed to do predictions and so on, which is not the same as inferencing. And in your class, you're allowed to give an answer or an interpretation of a passage that can be correct, but it may not be. That kind of a thing, where the teacher can say, "Hey, Joe, what do you think of so and so?" And the Joe will be like, "I think so and so," and the teacher like, "That sounds pretty weird, but I guess so, right?" And then the teacher can turn to Mary and say, "Mary, what do you think of whatever?" And Mary can give her answer, and the teacher like, "That sounds weird too, but I guess so." And that's true. Literature can be interpreted, but on things like the SHSAT, the questions are oriented so that they're looking for something really specific. And most of you don't understand that process, even students who do well on it. So what you guys do is the way to get around that is your solution is to keep just doing passages. But that's like throwing dots behind you to see if they land correctly. And I could throw 5 and they all don't miss. But if I spend hours throwing thousands behind me, eventually a few are going to hit. And that's not a good way to approach this. So you have to approach it logically and learn what's going on. This thing's called author's craft. That's what they're testing you on. Many of you don't understand the purpose of this exam. There's specific things they're doing with specific purposes. It's not arbitrary. They're testing concepts first. They don't just sit there and say, "Hey, this question looks really cool," or "We're going to really screw the students with this question." No, they're looking at it from a topic level first, right? How about we test the students on main idea, or tone, or setting, right? Many of you don't know what the main idea is, yet there's about one specific question per passage that asks students what is the main idea of the passage, okay? Also, about half of the questions involve the main idea, even if it doesn't ask specifically about it. So that means 50% of all the passage questions, minimum, are about main idea. And if I went into any classroom, or even a SHSAT prep center, and asked all the students what is main idea, I don't know that even 10% would be able to tell me what it was. So that's not good, right? So what you're trying to do is, see, on the math part, the granularity is there, right? If the question is like, what happens when I do exponent multiplication, that's really focused. And that's just about, do you know that technique? Are you able to handle that, right? And I'm not saying exponent multiplication is easy, but that's locked into that, right? If there's bad exponent multiplication, you know that's repeated multiplication. You know repeated multiplication addition. But if it's about exponents, you know it probably has nothing whatsoever to do with absolute value, right? But if you're getting thrown a random passage, you don't know there's this blob that's an unknown. And that's different than not knowing what the math question is going to be, right? We don't know like how many exponent math questions they're going to put. So that's the wild card with that. But with the passage, we not only don't know what questions they're going to ask, but we don't even know what the passage is, right? I mean, you have practice reading words, and you have practice reading stories and all this other stuff, but there's this random, arbitrary thing that requires you to think about it. Like, what is the author talking about? Who cares what this is about? Why are they giving me this boring thing? You know, all these kind of things like that. And it's a totally different cognitive level at every aspect. But the thing is, you can get the granularity with the math, most students. Even if they know how to solve the problem, they can get close. Like, enough students can identify, whether it's a word problem, a direct problem, like, oh, this is probably an exponent question. But they may not know, is it asking me to multiply them or divide them or something like that, right? That's a separate issue. With the ELA, there's just this blob, and you're being asked to spend 5 or 10 minutes reading it, and then there's these arbitrary questions about it. Well, it turns out it's not arbitrary. There's specific things that you need to do, whatever, right? So when you ask this long answer to the question, is it worth it to check ELA, because I don't really know how it would check it, you need to get in touch with those things. You need to understand what literature is about. You need to understand, not just position yourself as a test taker, but as a test writer. Okay? You need to take each question for what it is and say, what is the ELA concept they're testing me on? Right? Without knowing that, again, you're just arbitrarily answering what looks like a hard question. But if you know where they're going with it, that's a good heads up. All right? Could I get an appeal for my score? You can view your score. I got a total of 5 of 5 on the SHSAT, and I want to get into tech, which the cutoff of 5 or 6. Could I appeal? They claim no appeals. You're allowed to view the test. I'm sure if you literally found an error, that they have no choice but to correct it. I don't really like this position where all scores are final kind of thing, but that's the default position. I kind of don't blame them for saying that. But since you're that close, I would give it a shot. I would definitely give it a shot. Errors are made. The world's not perfect. But the default position is no. And remember that a lot of questions are, they're deep. A lot of questions are deeper than you think. Over the years, I had many students come to me and say, there's an error in this book. Can you help me find the right answer? In the meantime, the book said the right answer, right? When you have a workbook and there's a key or even a written description, or I've seen books being reviewed on Amazon, not just for the SHSAT, where they're like, question number 50 and 60 and 70 were all wrong. Well, I went to those books and checked it out for whatever those respective tests were, and the answer was correct. So it's sometimes hard for somebody when there's overlapping concepts or terminology or something like that that's really subtle. All these subtleties can end up being important to getting the right answer. So that's one of the problems with viewing the test. Although I would definitely say you should view it. Definitely give it a shot. Anybody in here, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much. If you get into Discovery, how likely is it that you get into an actual school? It turns out statistically is very likely. You are required to go there. I think more than 2 absences rules you out. A lot of people like to say Discovery sucks and Discovery is a joke. It's not. It probably is not as advanced as it should be, but Discovery is not SAT prep. It is kind of a heads-up class for what you're going to be doing in your freshman year in whatever Discovery school you got accepted into. Okay? So the Discovery program for STI might be slightly different than the Discovery program for Brooklyn Tech. But basically, they're going to focus on usually the math and ELA for whatever you're going to be doing in your freshman year. The premise is that these schools start off running, and since you didn't get a top score, you got one of the lower accepting scores. If you get like algebra is your first class, they want to kind of give you a heads up that you have a running start on all these kind of different things. Same for the ELA. You're going to get just thrown into some literature, and you kind of should be able to analyze it. And that includes some of the stuff I just talked about author's craft and how to read a passage and all these other kind of things. Should I email them by using the email they provided for the result? No. Give me 1 second. I'll give you the link. There's actually a unsecure form that they want you to send it to. So what I'm going to do is give you the top level link. Give me 5 more seconds. And you can click on it yourself. This way, we're not passing around a link that might end up being a bit.ly or something or whatever. Because the last thing I want is for students to be clicking on a spam site or something. Okay, so if you go to the last part of this page, wait, where did that end up? Okay, here we are. Okay, go to the last drop-down tab of the link I just sent, and that's where you can request the viewing. You have to go with your guardians, though, and they're going to give you a time in a month or 2, okay? Actually, I think it was after results. So they may not start doing it till June. You have, I believe, until May 13th to do it. So deadline for viewing is May 13th. They may change that. They may extend that. But right now, that's the deal. And give it a shot. They will then contact you to schedule a date with you. Normally, you're given about an hour, and I believe only one other person go into the room with you, and the other person has to be a guardian. I've tried to go with some of my students; they won't let me, and they tell me that, and they tell the parents that as well, whatever as well. So that's the breaks. Just go prepared to be careful through it. There will be somebody there, like if you say, "I think question number 5 I got right." That person is knowledgeable on all the answers, and they will give you the right answer and why, if you happen to question it. So you get to see a copy of your Scantron. You get to see a copy of your test booklet. You don't actually get to see your thing. You can't photo anything. You can't write anything down. All you can do is view and leave. Okay? And good luck on that, because that's would be a great thing. I went to Tech, and one of my kids went to Tech. It's a great school. So that would be a nice thing to happen. Hello? What's up? Please like and subscribe. Yeah, Bronx Science. There you go. I'm a Tech Knight, but I love all good schools. including non-specialized schools. There's a lot of good schools that are not specialized. Plus, remember, it's not just the school, it's you. Not just the school, it's you. It's up to you guys as well to do whatever you want to do. All right, so let me check my email and see any other kind of mean questions. So many asked about changing the Discovery school. So many asked about changing the school. So many asked about the SAT 9. It seems like everybody should have gotten the results by now. If you haven't, check. And so talking about you were asking, where's that tab now? You were asking about the Discovery. What was your question exactly? If I get into Discovery, how likely is that I get into the actual school? So your invite so far is only the first step in the process. There's a couple of more steps to the process. And you're not going to know about that for another month or two until they do that. If you get accepted into Discovery, you've only been invited. You're not accepted into it at this point. If you get accepted, it's about 5 weeks of class. Normally it's 4 days a week from like 9 to 1 o'clock for 4 days a week for 5 weeks during the summer. You have to have perfect attendance. You have to do the homeworks, right? And there will be some tests and so on. When all this is over, they give you a grade, and that's decided on whether you get in or not. If you miss classes, if you're screwing up, if you're misbehaving, whatever the case is going to be, you're not going to get in. All right, so this is a shot to be able to get in and have a nice freshman year. Okay, and even after you complete Discovery, it's not a guarantee that you get in. You still have to be literally accepted or not. But as I said earlier, most students are accepted because most students do the right thing. All right. Except I didn't count commute towards my app. So 1 year commute with Tran. Yep, that's an important decision to make. I lived in Rockaway when I went to Brooklyn Tech, and it could take anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours to get there, and anywhere from an hour and a half and 3 hours to get back. So I loved it though, so I really didn't care how long the journey was, even though that was pretty taxing. Because by the time I got home, I had hours of homework still, and so that was a pain in the neck. But I loved it, and I just, I'm a geek, I'm a nerd. I like math, I like science, I like the English, and I was really happy to be in that position where I could go to a school like that. So I was cool with the commute. I know some people may not be, so that's part of the decision process. Do you think they're adding a new specialized high school anytime soon? I hope they announce it really soon, like in 2 months. But new schools take a long time to come about, especially if it has to be built. So this conversation about new specialized high schools, it could take a few years. One of the things, if you look at how it was done, the original 3 specialized high schools were Stuyt, Bronx Science, and Brooklyn Tech. Bloomberg, in the early 2000s, added the other 5. Okay? But if you notice, they're basically connected to CUNY sites. They're small schools. Like York only allows 100 students. That was too small, and York is in a bad location. They're basically piggybacking with, I think, the nursing building of York College. And that's not a good scenario to do this with. Also, at the time, there was a lot of failing schools, and Bloomberg closed them and reopened up a lot of smaller schools in the same buildings. And some of you may be aware of that because the middle schools work the same way. So you might be in a small middle school in the same building with another small middle school. One of my kids went to a school in Long Island City that had 4 other New York City public schools inside of it. That's just too many. I think Bard Queens was another one of them, and I think Financial School of Finance or something was also another one. That's just splitting it up too much. and they just become small schools. The original premise of making small schools made sense economically. It also made sense because the original schools that were failing, they wanted to take away and stuff, right? So, I'm getting a text, sorry. They wanted to get rid of those schools and kind of restructure them so that they had a shot at being successful. So now that that kind of took its place into being, they need to start combining some of these small schools into bigger schools. And in the case of the specialized high schools, I think a class of 100 in each year is just too small. The school will have a hard problem adding AP classes. Normally, those schools don't have a gym. They don't have teams. They don't really. The clubs are limited, so it really doesn't make sense to add a new specialized high school that's tiny. Now, the other extreme is something like Brooklyn Tech. Some say it's too large. I never found it too large, but you know, to each his own. So that's kind of the thing there. And of course, if they are going to create a larger new specialized high school, where is that going to be? So they either have to accommodate something that exists already, that's in an empty building, if you will, and it could be a commercial building. It doesn't have to be an old school building. But there's all these concerns that need to be worked out, including the cost, staffing it, all these other kind of things like that. So it's not an easy task. Yeah, charter schools usually share spaces with public schools. Right. That's one reason why the charter schools could do that. But they've capped charter schools, and I was really talking about DOE public schools, but they're right. That's also the same scenario. And charter schools grew that way because the DOE had no choice but to close some schools, and then there was empty spaces around. But now charter schools are capped. I'm not sure capping them makes sense. I'm not even sure charter schools make sense. Charter schools only exist because the DOE sucks. So from that context, I mean, I see a bunch of people in the lobby. Please subscribe to my channel. Please like. It helps the channel, and I help you guys. So there's a good symbiotic relationship, right? Anybody have any questions about the results, or just want to crow from the rooftop about it's all over and so on? Go for it. We're just having a melancholy talk here. I'm getting emails. I have my email. It sets my phone off when I get an email. So I'm going to have a task when I hang up from this live stream. Oh, yeah. Somebody's calling me a goat. That was on Reddit, actually. So let me check my email again for that matter, because again, I did the stream to try to answer some of you guys' questions. Let's see here. Because so many were about SHSAT 9 and so many were about changing schools, whether you were in Discovery or not. And if it's not clear, you're going to decide probably mid-June or afterwards. You do not need to decide your current offer until mid-June. There's no other way around it at this point. Even if the full offers are released on June 1st, they're going to give you at least a week. So you're at least into June 8th. Actually, let me check the 2022 calendar here. Let's see. June 1st is on a Wednesday. So they're probably going to give you at least to June 10th to decide. And if I'm not mistaken, there's 2 days in there where school is closed. Because there's Chancellor's Day, Brooklyn Queens Day or something like that too. Or All Schools Day or whatever it's called. And that's normally around those dates. So they may even give you to the 13th, which is not a good day, right? 13th is supposed to be a bad number. So they might actually give it to June 14th then. Give me 1 second. I lost the tab to this live stream. Here we go. If a new specialized school was to be added, how would it affect the cutoffs? It probably wouldn't, and here's why. Because of the new politics going on, the new schools will not be using the SHSAT either at all or exclusively. The logic that's going on now is to leave the current 8 schools to be SHSAT schools. This is no guarantee. This is just the little birdie talk. Basically, leave the current 8 SHSAT schools as is and add at least one additional school in each borough. Those will not be using the SHSAT as the exclusive criteria. Maybe they'll use it as one of the ways to get into those schools, or maybe they won't use the SAT at all at that point for those extra schools. The problem with that logic is that once you open the door to this, it's going to be a never-ending argument about whether to use the SHSAT for any school anymore. And I say the more the merrier. I'm for private schools. I'm for Catholic schools. I'm for charter schools. I'm for DOE public schools. I'm for schools like Hunter College High School. The more choice you have, the better off everything is. This thing where everybody has to be the same or slotted into the same thing, I don't understand it. Okay? All I understand is there's a lot of bad middle schools, and those need to be fixed. There's a lot of bad high schools, and those need to be fixed. Okay? That's where the argument should be. Beyond that, everybody should have a choice. You want to go to a dual language school? Go to a dual language school. That's your choice. You should have that choice. That should be one of the options. You want to go to an opt-ed school like Midwood? Go to an opt-ed school like Midwood. That's beautiful. I think the beauty of New York City, that's one of them, that we have such a variety. That's the diversity. That's the diversity we want. And improve the schools. Instead of arguing that everybody should be using the same way to get into a high school. No, there's 8 schools that use this test. That means there's 400 and something other ones. What about those 400 other ones? Let's fix those. Let's get those right. Okay? So just to answer your question now directly, how would it affect the cutoffs? It may not at all. It may not affect them at all. On the same note, it might take seats away from the current specialized high schools. And or if some of those schools at least partially accept the SHSAT, then it could affect it that way. Remember, too, though, that the DOE has full control of the algorithm, so they can make the scores the same every year if they wanted to, or extraordinarily close. There's a little wiggle what happens from year to year, and that's because the scores are done the thing. But let's say, for argument's sake, all the scores ended up being 10 points higher one year. They could drag that down. They can metabolize it so it looks like the previous year if they wanted to. I'm not saying they do that, and I'm not saying they don't do it. I'm just saying they can make the numbers appear to be similar enough if they wanted to. We had that same issue when the discovery seats were increased all the way up to 20%. Now it's 20%. The fact that those are there theoretically should raise the score, but if we see it, it may or may not have done that. So did it not do it because the DOE did something with the algorithm? I don't know. It's hard to say. If I live in Staten Island, I'm going to Brooklyn Tech. Should I take it again to try to get in Staten Island Tech? Staten Island Tech has shown itself to be a great school. It's also a small school, though. But if you live in Staten Island and you don't like to commute, them's the breaks. But on the same note, why not give it a try? And if while you're going to Tech, it may turn out that you love it. And then you don't need to worry about it. So this is kind of a yin-yang. There's not a best answer for this. If you hate the commute, even if you love Brooklyn Tech, but you hate the commute, only you can decide that for yourself. And what you also want to do is experience it through when it's really hot out, when it's really cold, when it's snowing, when it's raining, all those kind of things like that. Remember too, though, for instance, like here's a good example. I said before it took me an hour and a half to 3 hours to get to Bergen Tech. On the same note, when I brought my kids to the local elementary school, that's actually a 20-minute walk. Okay, it takes me 20 minutes from my house to walk to the elementary school. And if I walked back, that was 40 minutes. I mean, that's me walking, but it still took 20 minutes to get there, pick them up, and walk them back. That's a long enough commute. And if you think about it, most of you need to take a train or a bus, even if it's in the same borough. And that commute can easily be 30 minutes, and on a bad day can be 45 minutes. So when you put it in context, an hour, if it's an hour, it may not be too long. It also depends where you live in Staten Island. If you live in Staten Island right up to New Jersey there, on the south part, what is that, the Outer Bridge Crossing or whatever? Yeah, then you're pretty far away. You know, you're 50, 60 miles away at that point, okay? But if you live in Staten Island, like where the Verrazano is, then that's a different story, right? So where you only have to take that outside, that train to the ferry or something. So it depends where you live in Staten Island as well, all right? On that topic, do you think the SHSAT is a good benchmark for those schools? I don't really want to get into that debate. It's not perfect. It does have a lot of problems. On the same note, the alternatives are not perfect either, and some of the alternatives even have more problems. So, you know, there's no utopia here, no matter what the benchmark is. And even if the benchmark is on academics, the benchmark is on diversity, the benchmark is on Black and Latino students, no matter how you slice this, there is no perfect solution to this. Because, as I said before, what I like is the diversity of the ways to be accepted into a school. And the proof is there that we already have all those ways. In no way is being successful in whatever it's claiming to do, right? Especially in terms of diversity and stuff like that, where we can talk about, like, there's only 8 black kids in STI or something like that being accepted, which is actually partially untrue because Discovery students also get added and that never gets pressed. The truth of the matter is those same students are not being accepted into other schools. As well, there are other programs like A Better Choice, Prep for Prep, all the good charter schools that many of those students are going to. So we have to look at this properly and balanced with the right, people talk about looking through a lens. All right, let's look through the right lens. The lens has to be a combo lens. It just can't be exclusive and say that sucks and therefore it's the end of it. I wish there were changes to the SHSAT, but that's a nightmare, just like the changes to anything are. Like I said, if they add these 5 extra schools that don't use the SHSAT, there's no picnic there. That's not a picnic. That's going to be a hard thing to establish and figure out the acceptance criteria for those schools. And it doesn't matter if it's an essay. It doesn't matter if it's another kind of a test. It doesn't matter if it's a portfolio of students' past work. There's problems with every single different way you would approach that. Okay? What's your topic on York? What's your topic? I'm not sure what you mean by that. What do I think about York? All the specialized high schools are good. Personally, I think York is too small and limited. But otherwise, it's fine, especially if you live near there. Okay, what's your topical opinion on York? Okay, so we just answered that. So happy because I thought I failed terribly ever since I took the test. So here's one of the things at the day of the test. I can ask every other student, including students coming out and saying, oh, that was so easy. And the next kid come out hysterically crying, oh, man, I failed. The truth of the matter is you don't know until you get your offer. You just really don't know. And that's the way it goes. It's an emotional-filled test day, and you really just don't know until you get there. So, and that's one of the reasons why the delay in releasing the score should not take so long. It is ridiculous to do this to students. There's other exams that don't take that long. You take a Regents, you take the New York State test, the results are known 2 days later. They may not tell the families or the student the results, but those results are known literally in 2 days. The SAT can be done in 2 weeks. There's other exams that take 5 days. The ACT is similar. The ACT doesn't take 4 months. The ISEE, the SSAT, all these different exams, they don't take almost a year to process. That's whacked out. Something's wrong with that. So, you know, it's a mess. Anyway, congrats. Didn't even finish. Wow. You got a 547, didn't even finish? That's great. Also, same, I wasn't able to finish. Whoops. Some of this is scrolling off. Super glad I got it, though. Please like and subscribe, people. Why is my like count only 7? After all the stuff I did for you guys for the past year, it's only 7? Nah, something's wrong. Let's see. Filter thoughts about Brooklyn Latin. I already gave that. It's near to me. I like the small schools, so yeah, there you go. It's no problem. Nice. I'm proud of you, Chasm. I am too. It's a great school. Thank you so much. What school did you get into? I got into Brooklyn Tech. Brooklyn Latin, let's not talk about it. Small school, though. Brooklyn Latin is a good school. It is, but it's not a STEM school, and it's a little different than some of the others. It uses the IB degree. You have to wear a uniform. On the same note, it has good quality instruction. It depends whether it's for you. Remember, many of you are just looking at, oh, this is a good school, but there's a flip side to that. Are you a good student, right? 900,000 scholars take the SAT, and yep, and they get it in 2 weeks. It's possible, and the DOE is paying a lot of money to have these exams scored. So even if they vet it and they do it by hand or whatever, it's just a bunch of nonsense. I see I've heard a few fair mixed opinions on Latin. I know it has its perks, but I also see other things to talk about. Their gripes. Yes, Latin gets beat up a lot, but I think it's just, it may not be for you. That doesn't mean it's a bad school, though. So that's really the thing with Latin. It's also normally the school with the lowest cutoff score. But remember, cutoff scores are elusive. Like Brooklyn Tech also has a low cutoff score. However, because there's so many seats, if you look at the whole range of Brooklyn Tech's acceptances, from the lowest cutoff score to its high, that's a lot. Just because there's extra seats, its cutoff score goes down. Latin's cutoff score stays down because not many students request it, compared to, say, STI or Brooklyn Tech. So the numbers can be elusive and misleading, depending on how you look at it. All right, so that painful plea only resulted in 3 more likes. Oh, man, I'm going to go cry. All right, so what other questions you guys might have about this thing? Otherwise, I might end this in 5 minutes or so on. Elusive. E with an E. The college schools usually get a really low cutoff score in 9th grade, but not this year. Cutoff scores were really high this year. Why? What do you mean by the college schools? Yeah, I just explained that. It's because it's a small school, and people kick it around because they think they're confused about the IB degree and stuff like that. So, but remember, Latin is not a STEM school. The specialized high schools have traditionally been STEM schools. So Lehman has that same concern as well, because it's not a STEM school. Oh yeah, very good, Shaquille. Yeah, so I just explained all that. Queens High School, York High School of Applied Science. Yep, they're smaller schools, and they're not STEM schools. So York is a STEM school, but York just just has so few students. If a concern for a lot of students is Latin has the IB program, but York doesn't have the IB program. But it's so small they can't do things like have lots of AP classes. They don't have lots of clubs. They're not affiliated with any other high school because they're in the middle of a college campus. All these other kind of things like that. So even their classrooms are in awkward places in the building and things like that. So that's why I'm saying in fact, what I think they should do is go to a school like York and Latin and Lehman, those three for sure, and at least double the number of students in them. Now, the buildings they're in may not be able to handle that. Well, they need to do that. Is Brooklyn Tech hard? Yep, they're all hard. They're all hard. One of my kids just graduated from there, and it was a lot of homework and a lot of work, for sure. Unless you're a genius. If you're a genius, it's not hard. You know everything. I think I'll be fine with the IB program. Latin also has a good amount of clubs and whatnot. So I'll see. Haha. Yeah. Yeah, Latin has, let me see here. Let me bring up my counts here. Latin has 200 students as their incoming class. So like Lehman has 100 and York has 100, but Latin has double. So I guess even that double, because if you do it for 4 years, then you have like 800 to 1,000 kids for the whole cohort, right? So whereas York only gets 400 and something, maybe 425 at most. So if you can double that, that's another 400 kids in the thing, right? So that's enough, and it could justify a gym. It could justify adding a whole bunch of clubs, whatever. So cafeteria, having a good cafeteria, all these kind of things like that. Even the kitchen staff and the cleaning staff and all this other stuff, it gets involved with it. Yeah, they do. They really do. It's kind of a mess. They need to renovate a lot of schools, actually. Some of the buildings are now like 100 years old. Some of the ones that were split into small schools were moved into commercial buildings. But even at that, some of those commercial buildings used to be factories from the probably 1940s. So they're at least 80-year-old buildings. That doesn't mean they're going to fall down, but the construction authority of the DOE is massive. There's lots of different things that need to be done to a lot of buildings. Do you know how I can apply and go back and look at my test? Yeah, I posted that link earlier. Do I still have it on the screen? Yeah, I do. Give me 1 second. I'm posting a link here. Go to the bottom of that page, and you can apply for the viewing. You would need to apply by May 13th, and the viewings, I don't think they start until June. And they will contact you about that. Just realize that the form is not secure. Okay. The last question on that goes something like, can I request an appointment to review? Let me see if I can copy that off of here. Yeah, the building looks really awesome, and it seems like a nice place to be, a nice comfortable place to be. I'm kind of a guy always through my life. That's why Brooklyn Tech didn't really bother me when I went there. But I kind of like the chaos of just thousands of people just all over the place. But I also like kind of the comfort. It has a nice school feel to it. Has HSPT. I never said that word before. The High School of Math, Science, and Engineering. It really has an awesome look to it, which is great because it kind of makes you feel like you're somewhere. I felt that same way with Brooklyn Tech, by the way. Right? It makes you feel like you're in this special place, which is great. You should have, public spaces are psychological component to them, and it's important for us to be able to do that kind of a thing. Give me 1 second. I can try to load that page here without spending 15 minutes doing that. Let me see if I can pull this off. Let's see. Is that going to load? Where'd it go? No, it went away. Let me try that one more time. Whoa, something wrong just happened. It was opening 2 Firefoxes. Let's see what happens. Let's give that a second to load up and adjust itself properly. Actually, I'm going to terminate that because I don't like what's happening here. Let me see if I end that. Yeah, wait, they both went away. Okay, so let me try to reload this. You guys can't see what I'm doing yet. I'm going to try to get this displayed on the screen. Just give me 2 more seconds. Let's see, that's not the link. All right, there we go. That's the page. Yep. All right, so give me 1 more second again. Let's see here. Do I have a thing set up for that already? I did at one point. Let me see here. All right, there we go. All right, so you can see the link at the top there. That's the link I posted before. Okay, and you go to the bottom of that page. Can I request an appointment to review a copy of the answer sheet? You click that out. There's a form here. You're going to click on that. First of all, read the whole thing. You can click on that. And there's a Google Docs there, which is unsecure. And it's going to ask you certain things, your name, your OSIS number, and some other personal information. I wish the DOE would change this, but at the moment, that's how they're setting it up, including your phone number and a whole bunch of other aspects. You're going to fill that, click next. It probably won't let me do that till I fill it out. Yeah, right. So, all right. And that's the deal with that. Let me try to bring this back here. Okay, there we go. Looks weird, mini Hogwarts. Thanks for the mild but meaningful support yesterday evening. I ended up getting into Bronx Science with 551. Yeah, there you go. All right. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, please like and subscribe. I'm probably going to end this at 9 or before. I started out saying I was exhausted, and I'm still exhausted. My throat's stripped out. I was talking for a couple of hours earlier. I tutored a bunch of kids and other stuff, and just whatever. So I'm ready to pass out. In fact, I might end it now because 9 o'clock is still 12 minutes away. Well, I'm going to get off to do homework, but I love the stream. Yeah, there you go. I'm going to get off to do sleep work. Is Queens Technical High School a specialized high school or a general high school? That's not the name of a specialized high school. So, Queens Technical High School. Let me try to do a quick Google of that. Queens. No, that's in Long Island City. That's not a specialized high school. 9 through 12. They have 1,500 students. Nope, definitely not. There's some interesting programs in there, it looks like here. I don't know that I've ever heard of this school before, but yeah. Yeah, I'm just wiped out. It's been a bad week for a few reasons, actually. Been a good week. Doing this has been pretty fun, but I had some personal grief, if you will, and stuff like that. So, and it just adds up. I don't think you guys know I have a chronic condition as well that acts up and goes away and stuff. So, and by the way, guys, so if you're not familiar with my hardest math series, let me just pop that out there. GregsTutoringNYC.com says hardest dash math. I just posted the last part to grade 6. So I'm going to be doing grade 7 and grade 8 hardest math questions. I don't know that I'll finish it by the time the state test comes, but if nothing else, I've done grade 3, 4, 5, and 6 for multiple show you work. And I also have links to grade 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 for multiple choice there. So I already have hundreds of grade 7 and grade 8 questions as well that you guys can check out. It's sourcing from the problems on the New York State exams that most students got wrong. In the show you work section, it was basically every question. In the multiple choice question, it wasn't every question, but it was a lot of them. So I've listed all those out, hundreds of them I answered, in really painful detail in some cases. I basically explored it as concepts. I'm not just solving problems, I approach it as solving concepts. So that way you really kind of understand it after the explanation. But it's painful. They're long videos. Can you do an 8th grade math state test review? That's what I'm talking about. I've already have a whole bunch at that link I just gave. The GregsTutoringNYC.com/hottest math. There's a whole bunch of grade 8 ones there already. I also have other ones that have no links to them at my channel for multiple years now. And if I'm doing grade 7 next, and if I happen to finish it, then I'll start with grade 8. In the meantime, there's multiple choice grade 8 questions that were pulled from the New York State exam. So the answer is it's already there. And I'll add more. What I'm getting at is I'm adding more. So there's a whole bunch already there, and I'll be adding more. So all for free. Totally free. You want to pay me? You guys can do that too. I can pop that out actually too. I don't normally do this, but it's there. If you go to www.GregsTutoringNYC.com/gift. you can send me a donation. To be honest with you, that does take a lot of time and energy to help you guys. And anything you can give back reciprocally is helpful to the channel, and therefore it's helpful to you guys. A lot of you guys get all the touting. Please like, subscribe. It helps us. The truth of the matter is it's true. It's really true. It's a symbiotic relationship. So the more I help you guys, and the more you can help me back to help the channel, then it helps you more. So it's reciprocity on steroids. And that's the way we should get it. The current setup is that I'm giving you guys hundreds of videos. I have something like 500 videos on the channel. So, and some of them are multiple hours. So that's 500 hours of material. That's a lot of hours. You know, that's if I started today, that's like 2 months worth of material going straight. All for free. So anything you guys can give back would be appreciated. Speaking of which, please like and subscribe. My little brother is in 5th grade and wants to go to Scholars Academy. Are there any resources to study the admissions test? Scholars Academy doesn't have an admissions test that I'm aware of. It's a great school. In fact, Scholars Academy is one of the hidden gems in New York City. It's an excellent top high school in the whole state. It doesn't get much traction, and we were talking about Latin earlier. So Scholars is kind of unknown or kind of ignored because it's so far out. It's in Rockaway. So that's the problem with that. Oh yeah, very much so. When I went to Brooklyn Tech, it was a very dangerous area. I got mugged, I got beat up, I got threatened, not by the Brooklyn Tech students, but by the neighborhood. It's completely different thing. Fort Greene Park was across the street. You wouldn't dare go into that park. Now it's a regular park. It's beautiful. The area is nice. It's a thriving, wonderful area. And I wouldn't even say it's been gentrified. It's just been balanced out nice. It's a nice balance. If I registered as 8th grade and I am homeschooled, but I am in 7th, would I be able to go to high school? I haven't applied yet. Wait, if I am registered at 8th grade and I am homeschooled, but I am in 7th, that's confusing. I don't understand that. You're either in 7th or 8th. You can't make believe you're in a different grade if that's what you mean. Even if you're accelerated, you need to basically the New York City Department of Education, it doesn't skip grades anymore. Promotional acceleration, or whatever it's called, that kind of doesn't happen. So they don't really do that. You have to basically do your grade level, which is based on your age level, unless there's some super extenuating circumstance. If you're that age that you're not the age of 8th grade, then you need to wait the year. If you're at that age, then you can apply. There's no problem applying. Remember the certain requirements of being homeschooled. You're probably aware of that. So you have to meet those requirements and stuff as well, and be able to prove that you're able to be, you're a New York City citizen, and all these kind of things like that. So, right, it's a good stretch out there, especially for middle schoolers. Like I said, I went to Brooklyn Tech from Rockaway, but at least I was in high school, right? These are middle schoolers. I know middle schools who went there from like North Queens, and it was a good journey. Even some of them who just went down across Bay Boulevard and Woodhaven Boulevard, that's a good long drive with a light on every block. And, again, if it's snowing and all this other stuff, and some people, it means you have to live off of Woodhaven across Bay Boulevard. Some of them had to take a train or a bus from somewhere else to connect into that. Same as if you took the A train into Rockaway. That A train is still a mile or two away from that school. So you still need to get a bus after that. So it's, it's the commute could just kill you there. Failed the ninth grade SHSAT really hard because of the curve. Yep, it happens, bro. Sorry. You know, I sincerely believe, though, that you guys are legends no matter what happened. To just step up to the plate and give you a shot at this, I think it's just wonderful. I can't keep saying that. And no matter what high school you go to, um, this this experience, there's no way it's not going to help you. You know, for sure. Um, yeah, I can buy that. But at the end of the day, that's the way the cards rolled for you. Um, I know it's cliche too, but sometimes things were meant to happen. Um, Again, the good news is you went through this process. You proved you have stamina. You proved you have diligence. You even proved you have knowledge and creativity and all this other stuff as well. So that's you can't discard that. There's no way to throw that away. And in some ways, I think you have a win-win as well as everybody else, because you know that's the way it happens sometimes. And the best thing that may have happened to you was not to get accepted. I know that sounds weird, but that's the way it goes. When you hear, you know, just to use another context of actors who were trying to get on a show, or on a program, or on TV, or work in a theater or whatever, you know, things happen that like, oh man, I lost that role. It's the end of the world. The truth of the matter is, it's rarely the end of the world. Remember, closing doors is actually equal to opportunities. Again, this all sounds cliche-ish, but I've lived through some of it. I can tell you now that things I was disappointed about, it turns out that that was some of the best things that happened to me sometimes. Okay, so there you go. Um, any predictions why cutoffs was so high this year? Um, the standard thing. Maybe discovery is still affecting it. Maybe it was the pandemic. Maybe they added more seats. Maybe they took away a few seats. There's so many ways to go through this, and some imply the score will get lower. Some implies it gets higher. Students were not as prepared because of the pandemic, because there's certainly learning loss. So on and so on and so on. That said, I am not convinced the scores were that much higher. I think they're still in the wiggle room. They may have been slightly higher than the wiggle room, but I think we're going to find in a day or two that the scores were not as high as they first appeared. The first night it was released after 8 o'clock or 7:30 or whatever, I thought those numbers were really super high. I was almost like, this can't be true. But it turns out when I finally started seeing more of the scores yesterday, they came down, and they're not as high as I originally thought. They are definitely higher. They're definitely higher than last year, for instance. But if we compare them to, say, 2 years ago, they're pretty much on par with 2 years ago. If I have to go back and check the numbers, but that seems to be the way it was true as far as I'm concerned. So it's a tough one to kind of say or not say or whatever. All right, Brooklyn Science. That's a good school. So either you meet Brooklyn Tech, Brooklyn Latin, or Bronx Science. The lowest cutoff score is now around 500. The lowest cutoff score is 497. It may not appear anywhere, but that's the official lowest cutoff score. Okay, probably because one of the rise of the competition there, mostly everyone got on 490 because they were right. There's also a sweet spot that happens that you guys may not be realizing. There's a sweet spot that happens right at the cutoff score. Lots of students' scores are right there, which is part of what makes this controversial. Um, because the argument is, if one kid got right at the cutoff score, one kid got 1 point below, it's like, um, is that kid really smarter than me, or whatever we want to characterize? Of course not. But that's the way it has to go. So this thing where they do that, it's iffy. It's iffy. like I said earlier, the SHSAT, including the scoring, it's not perfect. And I was asked to assess it or whatever. I never really characterized that part of it. But the truth of the matter is, it's way far from being perfect. But it does seem to be doing its job for the overall kind of thing. Doesn't mean it gets everybody sorted correctly. It doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't do that. But again, these are only 8 schools out of 400 and something schools. So, all right. So I said I was going to end before at 9. It's now 9:03, and I'm still talking. Please like and subscribe. Anybody popping on right now? It helps the channel. I'm trying to help you guys. I'm trying to do math and ELA and other things. And the more we can get the subscribe account, the like count up, the more it's going to help the algorithm, which indirectly ends up helping you guys. There's no point making these videos to help people if nobody sees them. So there's a circularity involved with this. And as I do a variety of different streams, depending on my availability or my mood or whatever, there's bound to be some more that you guys will enjoy and will be helpful to you guys. I might even expand out into doing Regent stuff and SAT stuff and other things like that. So the sky's the limit. If I apply next year, would I get into 10th grade? Right now, I'm in 8th. I'm going to be in 9th this September if I go, but I'm homeschooled. So I have to apply next year. Would I need a transcript? Yeah, but it would be your homeschool thing. No. You can join 10th grade from being homeschooled, so long as you can prove your homeschooled records. So that would be your transcript, whatever your family or whatever is maintaining for you. You may have a private tutor, whatever the case may be. Okay? I don't know why. I look like a lot of people, including myself. Anyway, that has nothing to do with the stream. So if you have SAT questions, because that's the topic, go for it, bro. So adult, I don't think you're going to have a problem with that, even if you homeschool through 9th. And you can take the SAT at that level, as long as the DOE, so at some point you're going to call up the DOE and say you want to become a public school student. They'll have you basically apply for that per se. This is independent of applying for high school itself. You have to be registered as a DOE student. They're going to give you a unique ID number, all these other kind of things like that. So at some point you're going to apply for that, become registered as a potential student entering the grade. And at that point you can do your application. You can't apply to a high school without being acknowledged as a student first. So if you have real transcripts, then you give them. If you have homeschooled quote transcripts, then you can provide that, right? The state already requires you to do certain documentation to be homeschooled. So as long as you can provide them, that you're already following up with the state. If you're homeschooled, you're already following up with the state. Even if you don't live in New York City right now, you still have requirements to document your homeschooling. So don't lose those. I was a public school student. Yeah, so you still have to re-enter the system. Basically, your records are not your records, but your who you are got detached. One way to double check is to try to log back into My Schools or log back into, I think it's called what's it called now? My Parent? No, yeah, I think it's called myparent.com or something like that, or NYC. Nope, that's not it either. What's the other site called where you guys have your account information? Let me see if I can find that real quick. I think it's from this info hub. Let's see. No, that's not it. Let me see if I can find that. There was a site that keeps track of your transcript history and stuff like that. My schools. It's not my schools. It's Gosh. Let me check this other site again. Where I thought it was, I don't see it there. Yeah, this is weird. Why don't they have a link to that accessible somewhere? Let's see. Oh wait, what's this? No, that just brings me back to the original site. Oh wait, here we go. DOE student accounts. It's schoolaccounts.nyc. You should have had an account on that site. Schoolaccounts.nyc. I believe that's the one that keeps all your records. So technically, that should still exist for you. You would have had an OSIS number. I think they would have ended your OSIS number, though, so that might be the problem. NYC student, was that the one I just said? Yeah. Wait, what's New York's? Yeah, it's NYC student, I believe. You're right. One or the other. Let me get rid of these extra tabs. Let's see, we don't need this anymore either. And let me bring that back. There we go. Get rid of that. Let's see. I took the 8th grade ELA state test last month, but I am homeschooled for 7th grade ELA and math science. I don't know how you pulled that off, but okay, great. I am also going to take the 8th grade math state test. Again, I don't know how you pulled that off, but great. I think so. When is the next live stream? Oh, I have no idea. I've always I never set a schedule. Probably I should, but it just depends on when I'm available. I just ended up being available tonight, so I just do even the math ones or whatever. It's just whenever I can get free time. Um, so it's hard to say. For the SHSAT end of the year ones, I may not do another one unless I get a lot more emails again with the same questions over and over and over again. Or unless something comes up. Oh, I'll probably do one in June when the high school results come out in terms of Q&A like this. I'll also do other ones that are a bit math based or ELA based as well. So, but I don't know when they'll be. So, uh, no, I don't think so. And here's one reason why it may not turn out to be true in reality. But this is the SHSAT or some form of it is 100 years old, about 90 something years old, and this whole argument about it is about 50 years old, and people have been trying to get rid of it for 50 years, and it hasn't happened yet. So, could it happen? Of course, it could happen. Political atmosphere has changed drastically over the country, so it could happen, but I just don't see it. And the solution, as I said before, is leave these schools alone. They're just 8 schools. And there's a variety of different ways to do admissions for other schools. There's already screen schools. There's dual language schools. There's opt-ed schools. They're talking about adding a new specialized high school in every borough that will not use the SHSAT. And it's all great. It's all great. There's nothing wrong with all that. And I think that's the way it should be. There shouldn't just be one way. There's some schools where you have to show an art portfolio. Other schools you have to do an audition. That's all fine. That's all fine. There's nothing wrong with any of it. Can you retake the SHSAT in 9th grade? Yes, only if you haven't taken it already, though. So if you've taken 9th grade already, you can't retake it. That's the problem. You're saying you're a 7th grade student trying to do stuff. You can't go school shopping. Basically, is what it's called. So you only get one shot, and you can only be a 9th grader once. If you're repeating 9th grade, you still can't take it. Again, if you guys have more questions, you can hit me up at GregsTutoringNYC@gmail.com. I'm getting notices as I'm talking here, but I'm too tired at this point to take a look at what they are. And of course, if you need tutoring, definitely hit me up. I'm good at what I do. Most of my students get into the school of their choice, whether it's for the specialized high school or not, whether it's for the SAT, whether it's for the ISEE, the SSAT, the TACHS for the Catholic high schools. And I'm talking from kindergarten up. I help some students get into G&T. You name it. I help students even in New Jersey, the Bergen County Academy exams. I've helped kids in Australia. I help kids in Chicago. The sky's the limit on all these different exams. The PSAT, the CLT, just so many different exams. Yeah, that video kind of went viral this year. It's about a 2-year-old video that had a lot of hits already, but it captures the essence of some of what's about. If you guys look that up, let me toss out a link for that here. I actually don't know which video you're talking about, but let me see if I can find it real quick. Of course, it's probably the one you're referring to, so I'll drop it in the chat. Yeah, I seem to be getting YouTube messages too while the stream is going on. Yeah, I believe that's grade 4, if I recall that video. But a lot of the concepts are still the same. Somebody was asking before about the ELA and stuff. That's part of what I'm talking about. If you know what you're being asked and how to look it up and stuff like that, it's a godsend to be able to know what you're being asked to do on the ELA section. It's not just this blob that seems like there's no logic to it. There's actually a lot of logic to it. All right, I got the link now, I think. So the link to that video is right here. That's the one I believe he's talking about. Are there people who haven't gotten their results yet? There probably is a few, but the results have been definitely sent out now. There might be somebody, 1 or 2 people with broken access or whatever. So, I use the Kaplan book for practice, but the practice tests in a way were easier than the actual test. It depends how you view it. Everybody's different. It depends on your skill set. It depends on what you went to middle school. It depends on your knowledge in general, what kind of student you are. So, and if you were prepared as well, you may have been more prepared. So Kaplan is currently a reasonable book. I have a workbook review. If you go to GregsTutoringNYC.com/SHSAT-FAQs, SHSAT facts, with a dash between it. I have a book review there. Kaplan's a great one. I even use it with some of my students. There's other good books. Many of the books have finally gotten pretty reasonable. Some of them are not the best, but the SAT is not the most widely used test in the world. So unlike the SAT, where millions of students are taking it a year, we have at most 28,000 students. And in a year like this, we probably only had 24. So, just got to go with it. Let's see. I'm registered for 8th and NYC, but from the homeschool, I'm in 7th. I'm homeschooling. I don't know how I'm registered as 8th, and I don't know either. But if you think it's a problem, contact them. I'm not quite sure how this is the case for you, but because you don't want them to turn around and say you were doing something not on the level, if you will. So. Big Yoshi. Please like and subscribe. All right, guys. I think I'm going to end the stream. I'm out of it. I'll check Reddit, emails, Facebook, all these different places. I have some YouTube comments now as well. So, and it's already 9:19 already. All right. Last question. I'll count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Peace out, everybody. Have a good night.